Taking a look at some of our Alaska news for this Monday, July 10th, 2017. The aviation color code was back up to red for the Bogoslaw volcano on Saturday after yet another eruption, this one sending ash up to 30,000 feet in the air. The Fairbanks City Council is proposing a property tax hike at tonight's meeting. If they approve it, then it'll have to go to voters in order for it to be enacted. It's all part of a process, of course, in which they're trying to replace money that they have been using for police, city, and whatever other workers that they're now no longer getting from the state. And so the burden is going to have to shift over to property owners if those same services are to continue. After the void left by Wells Fargo and the Iditarod, North Rim has now signed on as a sponsor for this next year, taking on one of the so-called lead dog sponsors. They didn't say exactly how much money is involved, but typically a lead dog sponsor is somewhere between $100,000 and $250,000 as a sponsor for the race. A truck that it was carrying groceries to Fred Meyer up here in Fairbanks, they're not sure which one, or they didn't identify which one, flipped and rolled over on the Alaska Highway, just spilling groceries all over the place. And a local village turned out and salvaged the eatable kind of mess that was left over. It makes sense. Down in the Kenai, some cows got out of a pen, and the cops had to come out and corral it. They did have to shoot an unruly bull. It's interesting living in Alaska when you talk about cows and bulls. You're normally talking about moose, right? And in fact, that was one of the first witnesses said when he called the police. He said, "These are some funny-looking moose." The Alaska House majority has countered the Senate offer on oil tax credits. Basically, they're just talking about ending them and then readdressing the issue at some other point in the future. The Senate is reconvening today to talk about the issue. There's been some trichinosis outbreaks in western Alaska due to people eating walrus meat that was not cooked well enough. Hey, walrus, it's what's for dinner. A truck allegedly dragged a dog on the Juneau-Douglas Bridge. They've started an investigation, but the person who called it in wasn't sure which direction the truck was headed, and so they're having a hard time figuring that. They're asking if anybody has any information to call them. A man down in Anchorage put a gun in his mouth when he was confronted by police and then hijacked the car and ended up crashing it on 5th Avenue. And he once again put the gun to his head, and the police stunned him with a taser, took him into custody. Also, in another incident in Anchorage, a man used a fake gun to rob a Midtown gas station, took some cash and some cigarettes, and was caught nearby by a canine. Scruggs, the missing Iditarod dog, has been found. As you recall, he's a retired sled dog from the Ali Zirkel's team. He was given to someone down in Anchorage and then got spooked by a lawnmower and disappeared. After close to, I think, 2 weeks, they now have him back. They found him all the way down by Potter's Marsh. Robots are likely on their way to the Alaska fish processing plants. They want to remove people from the slime line and get them working in more high-tech ways and leave all that gutting and slicing and dicing and stuff to robots. And the BLM has ordered a campground closed up by Chicken because of problem bears. In this case, it's a black bear causing a problem. It's been a summer of increased confrontation between bears and humans. Also, there's a report that there's an Alaska Fishing Commission that basically has worked itself out of a job, but it still has 2 commissioners that are making more than $130,000 a year. They have a staff of less than 12, and they've resolved like 3 complaints in the last year. $130,000. Last story for you. Mayor Jim Adderley of Fairbanks has sold his Allstate insurance business and plans to seek higher office. So what we've got for our Alaska news. My commentary today is a fathering tip. Some parenting wins on the way for you. Check that out and send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com, if you've got a news tip or if you'd like to get a sample of the 30 to 40-minute audio version of the news with many more details. steve@radiofreespeech.com.